Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse Podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on X at Fantasy Aceball. And if you're watching, you already know. If you're listening, got a special treat for you. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Geoff Pontes here. So, how you doing, Geoff?
Doing good, Tim, man. How are you today?
Quite excellent. It's Friday. It's about 60 degrees or more warmer here than the whole rest of the
I knew
country.
you'd get that in.
I can't complain, man. I like me being in Florida. If I complained, that would be like the worst. I can't complain about anything, Geoff.
Yeah, I mean, you have periods you can complain. Some of those storms you guys get, etc. We don't get that up here. I'd much rather deal with a little snow and a little cold than, like hurricanes, stuff like that. So yeah, no, I think you can complain as much as you want, Tim. I'm from the Northeast. We complain a lot. So like I'm okay. You could complain. You got a free pass.
I won't even complain about that. That's business, baby. It's business for me. So I'll take those hurricanes, bring them on.
Go.
But we're here today to talk about the top 20 third base prospects. Some of these prospects are like kind of like, are they going to be a third baseman? But third base is actually pretty thin. Everybody knows who follows prospects that tons of these dudes are just shortstops all the way up until like major league level. So it's like, okay, who's going to move over? So maybe I have a little bit of like prediction here or there in these rankings, but these are the guys that I think will probably end up at third. There might be a guy on this list that we get closer to the top that I'm like might end up just being like a first baseman, I guess. But, there's a couple guys on here that may move off to first. And some of these guys are shortstops now that will probably move over to third. So give me a little latitude, I guess, as far as position flexibility on these rankings. But these are the guys that I put together. So, and if you don't like any of the rankings, blame me. Don't blame Geoff. Number 20 is Chase Harlan. So if you're looking on YouTube or XVision or whatever, you can see I've got the F scores thrown up for all these guys. Chase Harlan doesn't necessarily qualify for a lot of these as of yet. So, take that for a little bit of a grain of salt, but there's definite power potential here with Chase Harlan. We don't have, maybe you do, Geoff, but I don't have EV numbers on it, on him, but obvious power here, obvious power when he was down at Complex. Was definitely better at Complex than he was when he came up to A-ball, but that happens with a lot of these guys. He's younger. You can see our age-adjusted WRC plus still gives him 144. So Harlan, nice power name to look out for, and probably does stick at third out of these guys. So what do you think, Geoff, on Chase Harlan?
Yeah, I think he's got a reasonable shot to stick at third. Like I think when you kind of hit the nail on the head in the open, where there's a certain percentage of guys that are already at third base in the minor leagues that will stick there. There's others that, probably maybe see some third base time, more than likely are first baseman, maybe even left fielders if they move well enough and they have that big arm that can play. I think Harlan falls more into like the stick at third. It is huge power. I do have EV numbers on it. 88.4. This is all competition, so this includes the Complex as well as A-ball. It's every at-bat that he took this year. 88.4 mile per hour average EV, which when you consider the age, 19 years old, and you're right there at major league average. 106.190th. So the top ends are really good. Had a 114.5 max this year. The plate skills are a little more fringy. He doesn't chase a ton. It's a decent balance of approach. It's not great, but I would probably maybe throw a 45 or 50 on it, just kind of long term. The contact's the bigger question. 23.3% in zone whiff, 30.9% overall. But the angles are good and he hits the ball hard. And it's not like his contacts, it's more of like a below average contact profile right now, as opposed to like the bottoms falling out. I don't know how he's going to maintain this. He makes, slight progressions in that area over the next couple of years and gets a little bit closer to like fringe average with this kind of juice that really plays. And it's like, it's like anything, like you take a little bit away from one area, feed the other one. It's just a matter of finding the right balance. And I don't think he's that far from it. So yeah, really good power prospect, good angles, good raw EVs.
Yep. Number 19 is Braylon Wimmer. So getting a little proximity here for Braylon Wimmer too. So keep that in mind. But Braylon Wimmer is 25 years old. You can see I just threw that up on the screen here. And again, he's you didn't know he just had brain surgery, so I don't know
Yeah.
like how tough it's going to be from coming back from something like that, or like how fast like recovery time is, because it's not like a normal sports injury. This is like a like a life thing here
Yeah.
for Mr. Wimmer. But he's pretty close. Like he had a lot of proximity, played in the fall league. So, and it doesn't hurt to play in Colorado too. So how do you feel about Braylon Wimmer as a prospect for
Yeah,
fantasy?
it's tough to know, right? Like him and Xavier Isaacs both, had to have brain surgeries this year. The only one that I can remember before that was Ryan Westmoreland with the Red Sox when like I was in college. um, so it was a long time ago. There might be other examples. I can't think of it. As far as I know, they expect Isaacs to come back and play. I'm uncertain on Weimer. I would think so, but it's like I don't have a ton of insight personally into like the specifics of the surgery and recovery and I mean vision impacted, right? Like some of that stuff could potentially be a part of it. On the surface, I do think that it's a player that was definitely trending toward, potentially making a debut. Um, Not great on base skills necessarily. The swing decisions are a little bit aggressive, but he balances it okay because he is aggressive in the zone. EVs are fine. It's like an 88.5 average, 103.8 90th. But the bat to ball skills are good, 17.5 in zone whiff rate. So the stuff that he's swinging on in the zone, and because he is like a higher heart swing guy, um, with decent power and okay angles and obviously good bat to ball skills, there is like some offensive upside here. And I think anybody that kind of has this balance of skills in Colorado, it's going to play up a little bit just from like a luck factor and balls in play, in that cavernous outfield there.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a 122 extra base hit plus, so that means he is getting a decent amount of extra base hits in there compared to league average at his level. And this is something that I love about him. 93. That's pretty crazy. So I don't know if you guys just lost me or what happened on the connection there, but I just mentioned his stolen base rate. All right,
Yeah, I
we're
mean,
back.
like yeah, sorry. I was gonna say he can run.
Yeah.
I saw him years ago on the Cape when he was still at South Carolina, and he's a pretty good athlete. So a little sneaky there too.
Yeah, for sure. Love to have that from third base. So number 18 here is going to be Lou James Groover. So Lou James, gotta love the name. We were just talking before we started recording here about LeBron James. Lou James is like combined LeBron with James almost. So we got Lou James Groover here. But Groover's an interesting player. Third base prospect with the Diamondbacks. A little bit of power here, but nothing like crazy. More of a contact profile. So I don't know for fantasy, like how much I really love him. I know a lot of people are really high on him, but only 12 bombs, 100 extra base hit plus, not really anything on the wheels. So like power wise, I just don't really know what to expect. You see some
Yeah,
split stuff too. Like a ton of his power is coming against lefties. Like he had 12 home runs and 6 of them were against lefties and 163 PAs, and then 6 against righties and 382. So kind of interesting the power splits here for Lou James Groover, mashing lefties, not really hitting for power against righties. So what do you think about Groover overall?
yeah. I mean, it's kind of a funky third base profile, right? Because it's right-handed hitting, corner guy, questionable defense long term at third base. You're right. I mean, in terms of what the power is, the 101.7 90th percentile, which would be well below a lot of like the 18-year-old top prospects that are on top 100 lists, right? So, and he's older. He's 23 last season. Will be turn 24 next year. The contact skills are really good. 13.2 in zone with 18% chase rate with a 41.6% swing rate, which means like the delta there, 23.6% higher heart swing. The angles are just okay. I mean, he could hit, right? Like there's plate skills here, but he would have to put on weight and muscle, and then ultimately power and impact in game for this to really play up. And I kind of worry about profiles like that because I'm not sure that he's even at like that sort of fringe average to like average contact level that can play up a hit tool profile. And I think we've seen that from some guys that hit 300 in the minor leagues, but they just really don't hit the ball very hard, and they get up to the majors and they're more like 260 type hitters. I think you still need to be able to like sting line drives and hard hit ground balls. Like those are the kind of guys that tend to hit for higher averages. Like you just need a little bit more oomph behind all
Yeah.
of it. And
It's
he's
almost
not like a
like a
speedster. It's not like he's a guy that's going to fly out of the gate and like steal. It's not Chandler Simpson or something like that where he's going to literally steal first base.
yeah, it's almost like probably better real life player just because he's gonna get hits than for fantasy, but like Nolan Shanuel-esque at third.
Yeah, I
Something
mean
like that.
that's kind of what this data looks like. Yeah, I mean maybe the EVs are a little bit better on the average, like, but not a whole lot. Yeah, and I mean, Shanuel, I think, caught like one barrel in the minor leagues before he got to the majors. So,
Yeah, he was also probably promoted after like one game too because the Angels. But here we got next on the list is Jacob Reimer. So Jacob Reimer with the Mets. I know a lot of people are actually really high on Reimer. I feel like he's more like the back of the baseball card stuff is better than what you've got under the hood. So like I don't really necessarily know how much to trust that we've seen, which is why I don't have him like top. Like some people have him like top 10 third base. Maybe a little crazy to me. But like I wouldn't say he's a bad player. I just think there might be like a little more steam here than is deserved. I do love that 150 extra base hit plus. So that just means 17 bombs. He's hitting a bunch of extra base hits. So, of course, like you're going to see that when you see this type of profile where it's like, okay, yeah, kind of like average contact rates. You got an okay plate approach, nothing special, just kind of like middle of the road. And then he's got all these, numbers. It's because, he's just finding the holes, I guess, is kind of like what you're getting right now with Reimer because metrically, he's like a pretty solid, but not amazing player. I do like the 155 age adjusted WRC plus because 21 years old at double A, like, yeah, he was a younger 21 during the season. So he'll be 22 next year at triple A. So he does have age on his side here too.
yeah, and I think some of the things you need to keep in mind, because I'll say like under the hood for me, like the full season data, he stands out metrically. He's probably the best guy we've talked about so far. 15.7 in zone whiff, 22.7 chase with a 43.3% swing rate. So he's above that kind of magic 20 chase minus swing rate number. EVs, 90.3 mile per hour average, 105, 90th percentile, super high barrel rate. The xwOBA last year was 352, which is right in line with the 375 that he had overall. Angles were really good. Pull launch angle 8.1, hard hit launch angle 12.2 degrees, overall launch angle 13.7, and he's got a really high pull air as well. The question with him is I don't think he's a third baseman, like he's a first baseman. So it does put more pressure on the bat. It is a quality bat though. Like there are skills and power here, and good angles. Like I wouldn't say I'm like going crazy over Reimer because, like I said, I think he's moving to first base, which puts a little bit more pressure on him. But offensively, like it's a pretty good bat.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting if there are rumors that Juan Soto could maybe be moving to first that I was seeing the other day. So
Yeah,
who knows if that happens, and definitely
yeah.
be blocked. And you got Ryan Clifford in the work too. But it's good to know about the EVs because I do not have that data. So that's
Yeah.
excellent to
And
know.
the other thing I'll bring up too is Brooklyn is death, like for hitters, man. Like that
Hmm.
park, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's literally Coney Island. So like, in Brooklyn, it is the park is in left field and then right field is the ocean. And I mean, if you hit balls out to right field there, it's like scouts put a 7 on it like right away because it doesn't happen. I mean, because it's like it abuts, like you're looking out onto the water and it's blowing in. I mean, with a lot of those parks
Yeah.
in Florida, like the marine layer and then like the ocean air, it can screw with some of that stuff. So I don't know. I mean, like I think some of the power stuff might have been a little negated just by how goofy the ball plays in Brooklyn.
Yeah, interesting. Good thoughts right there. Next on the list is Seaver King, who had a big fall league. There are a lot of people who are just completely writing him off before the fall league here because he was really not that great statistically this last year. He is good at running, I'll tell you. 30 steals, 91% stolen base success rate. So he's been good on the base pass. Hasn't really done much damage. Only an 83 extra base plus. Don't like that. But it kind of seemed like in the fall league he was putting some of these things together. Because my thought process with him has always been like, look, he had some nice power when he was in college. Yeah, metal bats, I get it. But to me, he always seemed like maybe like a mid-teens home run potential. And the way he's been playing, it's like it has looked like no. But after the fall league, maybe it is in there. So Seaver King, kind of a nice little bounce back here in the fall league, provides some hope for the former first rounder.
Yeah, and I think even with his college stuff, there's a couple of factors there, right? Wake Forest is like playing it. It's like the Great America Ballpark on steroids of college. Like balls fly at Wake Forest. And before that, he was at Division II Wingate, so he only had 1 year of like high level college baseball. And it was in the ACC. It wasn't like he got plopped into the SEC. So, like, I do think there's some level up stuff with him a little bit. Like under the hood, like he had 17.4% in zone whiff, which isn't bad. 104.8, 90th percentile, which like speaks exactly what you're talking about. Like, that kind of tells me it's like 55 kind of raw. The angles aren't good. The angles are pretty bad. It's a 5.9-degree launch angle. It's 4.1 in the hard hit, and then -4 on the pull. So I think some of it's like directional type of stuff that he needs to work on. I know they were working on that part of his swing, kind of his load and the bat path, leading up to AFL and then in AFL. Will be interesting to see what like that new group there does, because obviously Taboni, Devin Pearson, all those guys have came from the Red Sox that have very progressive hitting groups. So be sort of interesting to see if they can coax out better angles, because there is contact and power, and as you mentioned, speed and athleticism to sort of bank on. The swing decisions are rough though. He loves to chase. 37% chase rate last year, which is fairly absurd. So that was probably lurking underneath some of those bad numbers too, as he's swinging at the wrong pitches. But there's a bit of an overhaul that needs to take place here, but I don't think it's like unfixable stuff. It's not like he's limited by how his body moves. I think literally he just has to probably adjust the swing path and just, be a little bit more passive on certain types of pitches and locations.
Yeah, the pitchers in the fall league are not always the best, but
Yeah.
you can't fight with a 359, 468, 563 slash line while he was there. He had 3 bombs, 6 steals in 18 games, and then to something of your point, 11 walks in 18 games looks like progress versus his 5% walk rate or whatever he had in the minors this year. 24 RBI in 18 games too. So fun environment, that Arizona Fall League. Number 15 is Eric Batanti with the Brewers. So Batanti is really like a kind of a wild card here, where you don't really know what you're going to get. He's an athlete, so I mean, like, you got a nice power speed ticket here, but you're going to run into a 65% contact rate, 33.5% K rate. So way too many strikeouts, not making good contact. But he was 19. So, 19 at A ball, he's still young. There's still room for him to improve in the contact rate and plate skills. It's not necessarily like Spencer Jones bad at this point. 149 extra base hit plus. And with 19 bombs and 17 steals from a third baseman, 6'4", 218-pound frame, there's a lot to like with Batanti, but I don't know. I feel like there's going to be no middle ground with him. He's like the type of guy who he's either going to hit and he's going to be awesome, or he's just not going to make it, I feel like.
Yeah, and I feel like I love, these, bigger athletes, raw power. Like that's an exciting player to kind of dream on. He's got really good angles. It's a little Zaro Montish-ish, just from the sense that like the bat to ball skills are pretty bad. It's like you mentioned the contact rate there. It's like a 25.4% in zone whiff, and that's against A ball competition. He hits the piss out of the ball. It's a 106.690th. The angles are awesome. It's like a 20.6 degree launch angle. The hard hit launch angle is 22 degrees. I mean, when he hits the ball hard and makes contact, he's going to do damage. Like, he's probably one of the ex-Wobacon leaders in the minors after last year. But, you know, you got to make contact at a certain point. And I think that the trend that we're starting to see, especially in MLB, is the teams are valuing contact ability more and negating some of like the barrels and power stuff. That, not that it's not important, it's still paramount. But let's say, you know, if it was 80% before in terms of their evaluation, it's more like 70% now. They're just weighing it a little bit less. And I think you have to be able to find a balance. So like he's got the raw power and ability there, but you know, he's got to prove that he can make enough contact for that to be sustainable at higher levels. And we've seen guys like this get gobbled up.
Yeah, he's got to figure out lefties too. 193, 258, 313 slash against lefties, just his 61% contact rate. That ain't going to cut it. Next on the list, 14 is Luis Suizbel. I'm kind of I don't know. I'm like maybe higher on him than other people. I kind of like him a little bit. There's some fun power here for him. He's probably like, I don't know, there's potential he could move to first base too. So it's like, I don't know. But he's a switch hitter, nice power here, 23 homers, 119 extra base hit plus, about a 70% contact rate. So it's below average. 210 batting average. I think he's better than that. I think that batting average is going to track up. 246 BABIP on the year kind of tells you that it should track up. So I think Suizbel, because he like back of the baseball card, 210 average, like I feel like that just is going to be in fantasy leagues. Like people are just going to not believe him. They're going to cut him, whatever. Like I feel like you could almost get this guy for free. And there's some decent power here. And, you know, he's pretty young still, 22, switch hitter. So I think that there's a decent buying opportunity for him right now. What do you think, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with like he's got great angles. Like the swing path is awesome. And that optimizes kind of like below average raw. His 90th percentile was 102.5. His average was 84.9. He doesn't hit the ball that hard, actually. But, you know, you're talking an 8.9 degree launch angle, 8.1 on anything 95 plus. So he's really optimizing his hardest contact. And, you know, he's got a 32.5% pull air percentage. Like he knows how to hit the ball to his pull side and backspin it consistently. So that's a skill that matters. The contact is below average. The swing decisions are really aggressive. Like it's a 34.5% chase rate. It's a 55% swing rate, which is probably one of the higher swing rates in the minors. So there's some stuff that has to be adjusted here. And you'd like to see him maybe get to a little bit more raw. Now, he is a switch hitter, and I'm looking at combined numbers. So it's possible that he's just dreadful from one side in terms of the EVs and some of that stuff, and the swing's just a little bit more jacked up. And you know, maybe there's one side of the plate that he dominates from, and eventually he drops switch hitting or something. We've seen that happen. So I don't know. I mean, like I never want to write off guys that have swing paths like this, because they just have the opportunity to optimize contact so frequently that other players don't. You don't necessarily see it from guys that have like below average hit tools though. Like it's more the Joey Vottos, like the Alex Bregman, like those kind of guys that just really have true pull side backspin.
Yeah, well, to answer what you were saying here, he had a 73% contact rate against righties and 63 against lefties.
Yeah.
20 of his homers came against righties, only 3 against lefties. So he definitely has like a preferred dominant side of the plate here. And
yeah, I bet those lefty numbers are tanking him 100%.
Yeah, 177 batting average against lefties. So yeah, maybe he's one of those Cedric Mullins types who should just quit the switch hitting and figure it out from the other side. So
most of them should.
yeah, most of them. Then you look at like
Albies. Like I feel like we have this conversation with so many switch hitters. You know,
yeah. You got Florent or you got Made is like the only real one. It's like Made is great from both sides. Everyone else is no.
Yeah, exactly. There's like very few guys that can do that.
Yep, exactly.
If you're not a catcher, I don't necessarily see the value in it. Like, you know.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah, unless you're afraid, like, I guess if you're a righty, I feel like you don't really have to worry about it. If you're a lefty, I guess like a dominant lefty, I guess maybe there's,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's such a small percentage of at bats. Like I almost feel like some of the left on left stuff is like overvalued a little bit. Like you don't want him to be a nothing against those guys, but if your plate skills are still pretty good and you can pop a couple every year, you can still stay in the lineup, especially if your defense is good.
Yeah, for sure. Next on the list is Brock Wilken. So a bunch of Brewers here. Brock Wilken, big time power bat, uh, recovering from getting hit in the face the previous year. And interesting guy because the contact rates are actually pretty good. The
Pretty
dude
good.
can take a walk. He needs a swing. Like we just talked about swings too much. He needs to swing more. Only a 33% swing rate is not good enough. I mean, like that's why he's walking 20% of the time. But like basically, like from a stat line perspective here, he's like trying to be the righty Max Muncy at this point in time. Just like, okay, tons of home runs, tons of power, 150 extra base hit plus. So he's just maxing out on the power and then walking and striking out. 3 true outcomes to the T here for Mr. Brock Wilken. But he has had a track record in the past of nice batting averages. So it'll be interesting to see if he can track back towards that at all, or if this is just what he is. If he's Eugenio Suarez, or if he can figure out the batting averages and at least maybe get to like a 240 instead of a 220. What do you think, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean Brock is my guy. I got an autograph Brock ball up there. I've known Brock since he was 18 years old. And saw him here on the Cape. Like we chatted last year, I wrote an article about his recovery from the eye injury. He got hit in the face and like couldn't see. There was obviously, he had to do actual like rehab in Arizona at like 7:00 in the morning, an hour away from his house, like 5 or 6 days a week, in order to get it back, and kind of felt that it almost improved a little bit, which is kind of crazy. And then like got injured celebrating this season after the team won the first half championship or whatever in the Southern League. And he was mashing at that point. The contact skills I think are better than people realize, even by the strikeout rates. Like it's a 20.7 in zone whiff. Like it's a 45, 50. It's kind of hovering around average-ish contact, 28.7 overall. He's a little passive, but he never chases. So there's at least a decent balance there. I would like to see him get a little bit more aggressive, but you have to wonder with a guy like this with like longer levers, kind of how the swing gets going and how he sort of hunts barrels and angles. If some of that is him sort of mitigating some of the risk of him swinging more and potentially whiffing more. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that hits the crap out of the ball and finds great angles consistently, makes enough contact. He gets on base. He's not the most limber guy over there at third. The footwork isn't necessarily great. But the hands and actions are fine, and it's a rocket arm. I think that's one of the things that might keep him at third base long term, is the fact that he can really throw. I love the swing. It's one of my favorite swings in the minor leagues. And he just consistently, like I said, finds good contact at optimized angles and, does it enough, hits the ball in the air to his pull side. And I'm looking forward to a full healthy season for him, getting up to the big leagues and, seeing some Brockets in the majors. That's what we call Brock Wilken home runs, Brockets.
Brockets, I love that.
Brockets.
So next on the list, guess what? Another Brewer. It's Andrew Fisher. So the Brewers are just loaded at third base. Some of these guys are obviously not going to be third basemen because it's impossible. And all these bats, like there are too many good bats. Like they're not going to be able to stop all these guys from, they're not going to be all blocked or traded. So there's going to be a few of these guys are all going to come up as Brewers and they're going to move off position. So out of all these guys, like, do you think Andrew Fisher, is he going to be like an outfielder or third baseman? Because like, I'm kind of thinking maybe he moves to corner because Wilken does have a good arm and is good defensively, is kind of like my thought process on it. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on where you see his long-term home.
I think he's a first baseman DH. He's the worst defender out of all these guys. Probably the lowest level athlete of the group. He can really hit. He dealt with some injuries after the college season that kind of lurked a little bit in his pro debut. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of like his EV numbers and et cetera were down. we got something similar to that. I think is in his scouting report. In our Brewers top 30, Ben Badler does that one, and he kind of talked about it. So, yeah, I mean, like he had a 99.9 mile per hour, 90th percentile EV and 87 at bats. It was a 106.5 in college. Like that's going to creep back up to like 104, 105 next year. Usually we knock off a mile per hour or two from metal bats. So, I mean, I have no questions he's going to hit. He's hit at all three colleges that he was at. It was Duke, Ole Miss, and then Tennessee. Played all high-level competition, USA guy. So, yeah, I think it's a first base profile, though. But, it was one of the better combinations of, like, power, contact, approach, angles in the draft last year. So, yeah, I think one that will hit, but probably is most likely slated to move to first long term.
Yeah, interesting. And one thing I want to bring up, because a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, "Oh my gosh, look at that, 8 steals!" Like, what do you actually like? Is he actually going to do anything on the base? But I mean, like 10 steal max. Like he's not
Probably
going to be like,
not.
because people are going to look at this and they're like, he had 25 bombs in college and then stole eight bases in 19 games in the minors. This guy's going to go 25, or, people are going to look at that and think that. So what do you think ultimately he actually does on the base path?
Yeah, I would be shocked if he ever steals double-digit bases. Maybe in a minor league season, but at least like in a pro season, I can't imagine that being the case. Yeah, I mean he stole more bases in the minors over 19 games than he did over 167 college games. He only had 6 in 167 college games. He actually he only went 8 times in college, so he actually got the green light more. But some of that is playing in A ball at that time of year, and the catchers that you're facing, like they might have had a guy in one of those series that just couldn't throw, and they were just sending everybody, and there was 15 steals before the end of the game or something. Could be one of those kind of series. They just were beating the crap out of some catcher, and he ended up with 5 steals or something goofy.
Yeah, just have some fun. Next on the list is Tommy White, Tommy Tanks. So gotta love the ballpark that he's going to be playing in for at least a season, probably maybe 2 or something when he comes up. But it'll be interesting to see positionally what happens. It came out that the Athletics were interested in Nolan Arenado at third when after he was traded to the Diamondbacks. So it means they're kind of trying to do something there. And that's like one of the spots they actually do have open. Their outfield is just completely clogged. First base and catcher are obviously clogged. So I think White actually does take a third for those reasons. Good bat, like really solid above average player, kind of like across the board. Like I don't really see, I don't know if his power is going to come back. His prodigious college power hasn't really shown itself yet in the minors. Maybe once if he gets to these really good hitting stadiums, maybe some of that comes back. But I think he's just a really solid, like above average bat across the board here, like a really nice player, really high floor, in my opinion. What do you think about Tommy White? Like, do you think that power's coming back at all, or?
Probably not. Like, I think it was a little overrated by metal bats slightly. The EVs aren't bad. They're probably more like average of 103.7 90th. Did have a 114 this year though. Bat to ball is really good, 13.8% in zone whiff. Where he gets into trouble is it's a 33.5% chase rate, it's a 55% swing rate. He swings a lot. And I think what ends up happening there is he ends up swinging into outs, and not necessarily swing and miss outs, but just like bad contact at poor angles that are pitches that he probably should have taken. So I think some of it is just approach based. Like he's always been able to hit. We know he's going to put the bat in the ball. He's going to hit the ball hard enough. There's enough angles that he can coax it out, and he finds enough barrels. I think it's just a matter of like, can he get to his pull side a little bit more, and can he get a little bit more passive on pitches outside the zone, well, without sacrificing any of that aggression inside of it, which is good. So there's some good and some bad with Tommy White, but does have a track record of hitting, of course.
Yep. 10 on the list, getting into the top 10 here is Xavier Nains. Shortstop. Fangraphs has him listed as a shortstop. I don't think there's any chance but 6'4", 210 pounds, big lefty, masher. So I think he's going to be a ton of fun when he comes up. We did not get any sample size data out of him. So basically all we have right now are high school numbers. You can look at video of him in the cage. Like there's a bunch of video of him this offseason of him in the cage that you can check out. But we don't really have college or any minor league numbers to go off of. So, I mean, like data wise, like you're probably drawing from when he was in the what do you call it? The combine. What else are you going to draw from? So I don't know, Geoff, if you have extra numbers that you get at Baseball America that us normal peons don't get, but what do you got, Nate?
No, I mean, and I don't do the amateur side of things. Like I know that it was outlier EVs. He tests as like a huge power potential guy. Gets a ton of like Roman Anthony comps, and I think the similarities are the huge raw power. Like no one doubts that he's going to hit a lot of home runs. It's just a matter of like what's the hit tool going to look like. And as we've seen with Connor Griffin and Roman Anthony, a lot can change in that 8-month period after a guy is drafted, or even when he plays his last high school game to when he steps on the field in minor league spring training in late February, early March. So he'll be an interesting one to track for sure. We had him as a potential, like just outside the top 100 type guy. I do our Astros system. I think he's probably the highest upside prospect the Astros have had in quite a long time. But there's a lot of risk there too. If he doesn't hit, it could get ugly. So definitely no chance he sticks at third. It's a huge arm, kind of that prototypical third base masher is sort of how I view him. Maybe ends up moving to a corner outfield spot if the hands and actions at third aren't great, because he moves well enough. He's kind of like a 45, 50 runner. But it's a 60 arm with 70 raw power.
Yeah, tons of fun there. It'll be interesting, and he might be a huge mover once we start getting some of this data. This guy who's just like, once we actually get data, people are gonna be ooh or they're like, oh, I don't like that. So like he'll probably move up or down once we actually get some sample sizes from him. Next on the list is Daniel Ortiz, number 9. I might be the high guy. I mean, obviously I'm a Cardinals fan, so like someone could say, oh, Tim's just biased, whatever. I got him at 120 in my updated top 150 prospect rankings, and I comped him to Isaac Paredes. I love the angles that this guy gets to, and I actually watched him a decent amount because he was in Jupiter for a while this year, and he was hitting third a lot of the time. So that just means that the Cardinals also like him too. I'm trying to type in Isaac Paredes instead of Daniel Ortiz here, but the angles that he gets to are pretty ridiculous. You've got 21.7 air pull. 42.1% sweet spot. So making really good contact, hits the ball hard, 105.3 90th, 110.1 max. So this is a guy I actually have numbers on since he played in Florida State League.
Yeah.
But good contacts, great angles, and like just air pull, like the power that he's getting to. A lot of that is from the angles that he's getting to. So that's where I come up with the Paredes comp. But I like him a lot. I think he's a really interesting, kind of underrated guy who had a really strong season last year. 81% stolen base success rate too, with 39 steals. So another sneaky speed guy here for Ortiz.
He just gets really good reads. He's a smart ball player. He's actually from up here. He's a Massachusetts kid. And grew up in Lynn, went to St. Mary's, I think transferred out somewhere his senior year and then played a year at JUCO. Cardinals definitely do like him. There's good power. You spot on with all the angle stuff. Really good swing decisions as well. Played a few different positions. It's not great anywhere in the field, including first base. It's not like Hendrik Pinongo bad or anything like that. I think he does have a position. Probably isn't third, but it's not. I mean, the arm is pretty good. I cover the Cardinals too. Like I liked Ortiz. He moved up quite a bit on the list. I think once he proves he can hit at higher levels, I think there's a chance he could blow up. The contact's a little below average, but honestly, with the swing decisions, power, angles, versatility, I can kind of sacrifice a little bit of that. And if it ticks up and gets a little bit better, we could be talking about someone that kind of hits themselves into an everyday ball player. I think he is really underrated, actually. He maybe even underrated on my Cardinals list, but
he's going to be one of these Cardinals devil magic guys. Watch, Geoff, and in 2 years, 3 years, people are gonna be like, where did this? He'll be the next whatever, Matt Carpenter or whatever, one of these guys
Alan
just comes
Craig.
out of nowhere. Yeah, Alan Craig just comes out of nowhere, is good. He'll be that next devil magic guy.
I am bringing the devil magic back. It's been absent for a little bit now. They needed some of that magic with Jordan Walker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sprinkle. Yeah, exactly. Sprinkle some of those angles. Yeah, sprinkle some of those angles on Jordan, please, Danielle. There we go. Number 8 is Emil Morales with the Dodgers. Long ways away for him, and the Dodgers keep adding guys. So it's like, will he ever be a Dodger? I guess, like, who knows? who knows? I've got him at 70 in my prospect rankings, so I like him quite a bit. Big athletic dude, huge swing, kind of like Tatis-ish mechanics when I watch him is kind of the feel I get. Nice EVs, tons of tools with this kid. I mean, pretty raw, but I like him a lot, and there's a lot of upside to dream with Emil Morales. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I think if he can just continue to make steady gains in terms of the bat to ball, the power, the angles, the tools, it's all there. He's a pretty good prospect, and I almost wonder. Someone asked me this recently, but like, is he the kind of guy that in a different system that isn't as loaded? And the Dodgers are funny because they may not have like, well, I guess like they have a few right now, but they typically don't have like the top 20, 25 type of prospects. They more have like a ton of guys from like 50 to 100 plus. And I do wonder if he'd be a top 100 prospect in like, a different system, the Padres system. He's their number one guy. Does he get more hype? Really interesting player. Because the bat to ball is below average right now, and that's really the biggest point of contention with him. But should play a position, has value. I think he's an exciting fantasy prospect for sure. And yeah, I mean, none of these Dodgers guys seem like they're going to play for the Dodgers at this point. Like, he's going to get traded to the Tigers for Tarek Skubal or something goofy, right?
Oh no, don't say that. Don't put that juju out on the universe.
I actually
yeah,
think Skubal might be the one guy they don't go after. It'll be the Mets. He'll end up with the Mets is what will happen,
right? Number 7 is JoJo Parker with the Jays. Again, just like Nanes, we don't have any sample size yet for JoJo. But there's good contact, there's good power. I think from listening to you and like seeing stuff that you write, I think you like JoJo more than Holiday. I've got him back to back here with I've got Holiday with a slight nudge for now. Obviously, we don't have data on JoJo yet, so once we get some of that data, then that may change pretty quickly. But JoJo Parker kind of as like the middle ground between your Willits and your Holiday coming to the draft, where it's like, oh, he's got more power than Willits, and he's got a way better hit tool than Holiday. So that's like your if you don't want to pick one way, then you just split the middle and go with JoJo. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. I'll probably get some. I mean, hopefully, like, who knows? Maybe he'll be a complex, but hopefully I get looks at him if he's at Dunedin this year. So that'll be nice. But what do you think about JoJo?
He should be at Dunedin this year. Especially as like an older high school guy at the time of the draft. They'll definitely try to push him up to low A. I mean, it was one of the better combinations of hit tool and power in the class. Good performer. Just watching it on video, it's a great swing. I think, a lot of adjustability, good angles, swings at good pitches. Like, that's really polished. He's much more polished than Holiday is at this point, which is kind of funny to say. I'm just lower on Holiday generally. Like, I don't think he's going to hit. It was about as bad a contact sample as you could possibly have. And I had heard for 2 years prior to that, the people in the industry that were low on him were just pounding the 30 hit tool drum. And so far it looks like a 30 hit tool. So he just scares me. I mean, like, I might have Holiday higher than 9s. I would probably take 9s. If, like, gun to my head, I had to take one that I would gamble on in fantasy. It's also the Rockies. Like, that worries me. I don't feel like hiring the guys from the Cleveland Browns are gonna that were in Moneyball are gonna make that much of a difference in the short term, because it's a mess over there, and there's a lot of stuff that they need to catch up on. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I worry about that. It's a bad combination of traits.
Yeah, so transitioning straight into him here, obviously 57.4% contact rate is pretty terrible. That
Yeah.
it's like that literally is like Spencer Jones level. Like there's very few people who can. Carson Williams, Spencer Jones, like the only guys I guess who continue to be on prospect lists with that bad of contact. So that means that in
Yeah.
order to have that bad of contact and still be kind of like a guy that's interesting, you've got to really mash. Like he had, like you have to really mash. He's got to work on that hit tool. Like I know I actually heard you talking about it on another podcast, but like I don't know, like I just hope I'm like man, like Matt Holiday's his dad, like they've got like Jackson's his brother. They've got to figure this out. They got to work together. Like I'm a Cardinals fan, so like I'm I met Matt Holiday before. I've talked to him a few different times. Like I listened to him on Cardinals territory, and on Cardinals territory, he had like they both kids at his house, living in his house this offseason. I'm like, good. Good. Yeah. Do batting practice. Come on. Like practice with Jackson. Let's go. So
where was he living? Where was he living before that?
Yeah, exactly.
He's been able to hit every day, all day long, his entire life. I mean, he's more like Matt than Ethan was, and I think this was than Jackson was. And at the time of Jackson Holiday, when he was a top prospect, this was something we had to battle against. It was this perception that he was just going to grow into more size and power, and it was like, no, he looks like his mom. That's his mom. And Ethan is his dad, and Ethan was already 3 inches taller than he was. Well, I don't know if Ethan there's a chance. Like, I don't want to write it off, right? Like you can't be absolutist in this business. If you think you can predict the future, you're crazy. But it's just a profile that it scares the shit out of me, and so I have to stay away from it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I've definitely dropped him since the last time that we've talked, and we've had more data since then too. So I've definitely dropped him. I'm definitely down on him compared to them, but like the sample size isn't large enough to write him off. Like I'm still higher on him than I am on Condon. I guess I'll throw that out there. But yeah, it's kind of sad, but that's where I'm at. Number 5 on the list is Sal Stewart, the man, the myth, the legend. He played third base all through the minors, and now it kind of sounds like they're just going to pigeonhole him at first. I mean, yeah, you've got Brian Hayes, so you have an amazing glove, but he's just such a bad hitter. It's like, I don't know, maybe there's still a chance that Sal Stewart comes back to third at some point, but I mean, like his body type really is more of a first baseman anyway. When you look at him, I've seen him in Florida back when he was an A-ball. I was watching him when he was with the Daytona Tortugas. So I've seen a decent amount of him in person. And even back then, I was thinking that. But he's such a good hitter. And right now,
that's the big issue with him. Is the arm is bad.
In fantasy leagues, for now, he is third base eligible. So hence him being on the list. But yeah, I guess he's probably going to be first base long term. But
you gotta soak it up while you can.
Exactly. Since he's there now, we're counting it. So where are you at on Sal Stewart, Jeff? Because I actually listed him as my number 1 redraft hitter for this year. Like, even though I've got him on 5 here, I think that for this year alone, for fantasy baseball, if I could only pick one prospect as a hitter, he's the one that I want right now.
I think I'd still go Weatherholt. Like, I understand the difference in parks is like substantial, but I think Weatherholt's going to come in day one. He can run. He's going to hit for average. The power is good, not great, but also like Stewart had a couple years to, get the power going. That wasn't something that was part of his game entering last season. And we did start to see Weatherholt hit just for more power once he got up to Memphis. The angles got better, started hitting the ball harder. He talked a little bit to me about it at the Futures game and just making some adjustments. And I wouldn't say taking more daddy hacks, but more deliberately trying to attack certain pitches and do damage. And I think we started to see that. So I think I'd still go Weatherholt, but like I think Weatherholt is in a lot of years could potentially be the number 1 overall prospect. It's just this year he's got 2 dudes ranked ahead of him. And I'd probably take both of them ahead of Stewart too. But I'm also probably lower on Sal Stewart than like anybody I work with, and certainly like between Dylan and I, Dylan's a Stewart guy, and I'm a little bit less so.
I get it with the body type. He's just such a good hitter. Like when I saw him in person, I was like, I remember thinking when I saw him use an A-ball, he wasn't even a guy yet at that point in time. And I remember watching him, and Collier was playing. The first time I saw him, Collier was playing. And that was back when people were in on Carlos Jorge or Carlos George, whatever you call him. And I just remember seeing Sal, and I was like, that's definitely the best hitter out of all these guys. So that was back, like before he was anybody.
I would have agreed with you then too. I was not a Collier guy. So
yeah,
Cam's a great kid, but yeah, no, I've never been a big believer.
Yeah, so I like Stewart a lot. Great hit tool. 163 H adjusted WRC plus is crazy. Hits good contacts, good power. I don't know if there's superstar stuff here, but there's like good across the board. There's like really good across the board. Is it like better than above average, I think, on a lot of those tools. Number 4, I've got Caleb Bonhomer. So I'm a big Bonhomer guy. I know you're right there with me on Caleb Bonhomer.
Yep.
Coming up here with the White Sox, like, there's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, they're definitely picking Rock number 1. I mean, like, we still have a whole season to play. So, everyone thought Jamie Arnold was going to go number 1 at this point last year, and that didn't happen. So I guess we'll see. But if that happens, like Bonhomer and Montgomery, like, I don't know, is Bonhomer athletic enough to still play short? Because I've kind of always put him at third. I've always, in my mind, he's been thought in my mind, he's going to be a third baseman, not a shortstop. But if they do go Rock, then like, do you really want to lose that athleticism and like hide him in the outfield or something? It's like, I don't really know what they'll do in that case, especially because when Colson was coming up, everyone was like, Colson might move to third eventually because he's so big. So it's kind of interesting to think that maybe Bonhomer actually does get short with all this potential, players and moving the pieces around and all that.
Yeah.
But Bonhomer, talking about Danielle's angles, like Bonhomer angles king here, like really great angles. Great plate skills, good hit tool, very good EVs, got some speed here too. Bonhomer is a jack of all trades. Big fan of Caleb Bonhomer.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of my favorite players in the minors. He's actually really athletic too, like surprisingly. So like his athletic testing and size data is 1-for-1 at the same age with Gunnar Henderson. Speed, power, height, weight, right there. All the stuff in the jump testing and the force plates. And then you look at the player, it's very similar. And like people said the same thing about Gunnar, that he would move off a short. I do think that Gunnar was a better defender than Bonhomer is, had a bigger arm than Bonhomer. Maybe Bonhomer moves to second base. If they take Chalowski, which I think they will, he's a shortstop. He's going to stick there long term. I don't have a doubt about that. You move Montgomery over to third, where I think he was probably always going to play anyway. And then you have Bonhomer at second. It's a pretty outstanding infield. Because I would just think on the size and the arm strength, Montgomery is the one that would move to third base. So in that scenario, maybe Bonhomer moves over to second. Maybe he gets multiple position versatility, right? Like maybe he plays a little third when he comes up, a little shortstop, and switches it up. And for a couple of years is a multi-position guy. I don't think they would move him to the outfield. It wouldn't be crazy if they moved into a corner outfield spot. I certainly think the bat is enough to carry it. I mean, we put our top 50s in the website today, and I think I have Bonhomer at like 10 or 11. Like he's one of my favorite players in the game. If I can acquire him in every dynasty league this year, I would.
I love that. I've got him at 20 overall in my latest rankings, and I just did I'm in the middle of a 30-team startup draft right now, and we're doing the prospect draft, and I got him in the second round at like 32, and I was pretty psyched about that. So, huge Bonhomer guy, and it's hilarious that you mentioned Gunnar Henderson because that's actually like the comp that I wrote in my write-ups. This is literally what I wrote: Bobby Witt Jr. light mechanics with potential Gunnar Henderson type outcomes. So. That's literally my comp that I wrote verbatim. So we're both on the same page with Bonhomer. Number 3, Colt Emerson is my guy here for number 3. Seems like the Mariners are going to give him a shot out of camp to play third, which is interesting. So obviously they've got like a bunch of guys. They got JP at short, great shortstop. So you don't want to move that. You got Cole Young already who could play second short. Emerson's bigger than Cole Young, so kind of makes sense, I guess, for Colt Emerson to slide over to third. 163 age-adjusted WRC+. A lot of people are going to look at Emerson's numbers, and they're just going to kind of like, meh, like, it's okay. But he was really, really good in the second half. Like, insane second half. Power really started coming on in the second half. So if you weren't paying attention, if you're like already moving to football mode, you may have missed that. But the power really started coming on in the second half. So, really good EVs. Has always had like better raw power than he's shown in the minors, but it like finally started coming, and he's still young. So it's like, uh, I would not write off Colt Emerson and like bury him under some of these like crazy stat back of the baseball card guys, because there's a lot more in the tank for him.
Yeah, and he had a swing change halfway through the season. Adjusted his hand position, what his setup was, and I mean setup, I'm talking about like his feet, and just like his posture got a little bit more like straight up. You're a dad that's now, has a kid that's learned how to hit. You will learn that like posture is so important. And it's something that like people get out of because they get into certain habits or trying to over accentuate a certain motion. And I think that's a lot, like even like Louis Robert, if you look at his August production, like after he was catching on time way more, catching more barrels. And like sometimes it's not even about contact. It's about your contact point. Like, where are you making contact and how consistently are you on time with the fastball and kind of catching, soft stuff at the right spot out the front where you're not, overextended or out in your front foot. So he made a swing adjustment that really ticked everything up. I would have had him below like a Leo DeVries coming in, like into like August. What he showed over the last stretch of the season kind of had him leapfrogging guys like DeVries and Walcott for me. And I think it's because I think he is pretty close to major league ready at a very young age. Could debut because he's not even going to be 21 on opening day, right? He's going to be still 20.
Yeah.
EVs are there, angles are there, contact like through the roof. I mean, 13.5% in zone whiff rate. Doesn't chase, aggressive in the zone. It's maybe a 70 hit tool, definitely a 60. But it's comfortably into 60 territory, right? And there's juice. I think there's probably above average to maybe plus juice. Now, we talk about Sal Stewart and some of these other guys. Like, the park that you're hitting in matters, right? Your home park matters. You're playing half your games there. Colt Emerson was in Great American Ballpark. I'd be like, yeah, 20 home runs, no problem. Hang it up right now. But in Seattle, it might be more like 16 with a good batting average. And you kind of look at the end of the season, they're like, all things considered, he had a really good year. But it may not be exciting, just from like a 5x5 perspective, because he's not going to run a whole ton either. It's a hit tool power. It's a Corey Seager kind of a profile.
Yeah, good play skills too. So points leagues for sure. Colt Emerson. Yeah, number 2 is Luis Pena. I've got Pena on the list though. Probably, I don't know, second base, because the Brewers have like 5 third basemen on this list that I put out here. So probably ultimately a second baseman. Obviously, Mate is going to be your shortstop out of these guys. But Luis Pena, really great hit tool. Kind of struggled when he went up to high A this year, but it's just a transition. He didn't. So I think that, with the transition, give him some more time at high A before you write him off. Because I feel like a lot of people right now are looking at those high A numbers and they're like, I don't know about Pena anymore, when they were really psyched when he was in low A. So I feel like just give him more time to transition to the high A. He was still super young. Like, he was 18 years old at the level. So it's not like he was 20 years old. Like, he's very young for the level still. So I'm a Pena believer here. And I really like the hit tool. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes together. There's kind of some sneaky power here, and that definitely a good amount of speed too with Luis Pena.
Yeah, it's funny, like you said, like I feel like everybody went so crazy at the beginning of the year, and it was like, this is the best prospect. This guy's better than Jesus Mate. And then like they got, leveled up. Mate went like this. Pena settled down a little bit. And then everybody went like too negative, where like, I don't know. I mean, I would probably have him more personally like 4 or 5. Like, I like Emerson and Bonham more than Pena. And you could sell me on Stewart because of the proximity and ballpark. I do think Pena is a better player. And I still like a lot. Like, he runs, There's contact here. There is some power. The approach isn't great. That definitely needs to improve. He's aggressive outside the zone more often than he probably should be. The angles aren't great. But he was also 18 years old. Like, he's a super young player. There's a ton of stuff to like here, a ton of stuff to dream on. And in Dynasty, like, that does hold weight. And, I think there's some people who really value him as like a top 10 prospect in Dynasty. So his Dynasty stock, I think he's in the right spot. I do think that there's like some red flags here, like with the approach and the angles and stuff like that. But it's not the kind of thing where I would overreact to it, where I felt like people overreacted in the beginning and they overreacted in the opposite way, in the back end, where, yeah, there's some good and some bad. And one of the best breakout stories if you got this guy off your waiver wire in like a 16-team league, which is totally reasonable in April, like, you love it. This is one of the best pickups that you made last year, right? So there's nothing to knock with this one whatsoever, and I think a really talented player.
Yep. Number 1 on the list for third base is JJ Weatherholt. A lot of people might think Weatherholt at third base. Like, I've been saying it for like a year though, because I've seen JJ Weatherholt a lot in person. And I was just like, this guy's a really solid defensive shortstop. I was like, he could definitely play third. Like, I've seen Nolan Gorman play third. And I'm like, Weatherholt is definitely better than Nolan Gorman defensively. So, like, if I have to put one of those two guys at third base, I'm definitely putting Weatherholt there. I mean, like, the Cardinals haven't like really come out and said, announced their plans on what they're going to do positionally. But to me, it just makes sense for Weatherholt to move to third. It'd be kind of silly to me if Weatherholt is second base, they trade Donovan, they move Weatherholt to second, and Gorman's a third. To me, that's kind of silly because I've seen Gorman play third, and it's like slightly, it's not bad, but it's like below. It's not even average. It's like slightly below average, I would say. Where I think Weatherholt could be a solid, plus defensively at third base. So I place him at third here, but obviously you liked him. You already were jumping the gate to talk about him over Sal Stewart. But like, I love JJ. Obviously for like Dynasty, because we're talking about prospect rankings here, I like him better than Stewart. I have him ranked way ahead of Stewart in my Dynasty and prospect rankings. But for redraft purposes, like, you never know. You know what I mean? Like, obviously for redraft, you're thinking playing time, right? I need to get at bats. Like, Sal Stewart has already debuted. How cheap are the Cardinals going to be, right? Are they really not going to allow him to break camp? Like, he should. He's breaking camp.
I'll put money on it with anyone who wants to take this bet. The last time was when I said Tatis Jr. would break camp after Derek, what's his name there? The guy that does projections, the bat.
Derek Carty.
Derek Carty said that he was Corey Spanenberger. And I was like, I got mad at him. And I was like, you're an idiot. And he got very upset about that. And then a million people made $25 bets with me about Tatis outperforming the projection, which was easy. And then it was like, all right. But I'll take the same bet on this one. They traded Arenado with the idea that Weatherholt was going to be their third baseman. And if it wasn't for Mason Wynn, he'd be their shortstop. If he was with the Braves, he'd be their shortstop. If he was with a competitive team last year that was in a playoff race, he would have been up in the big leagues already. There was no reason for them to mess with any of the service time. I think they're going to call him up. We know he's a no doubt PPI eligible player. They can get the extra draft pick out of it. This is Chaim Bloom that's now in charge of the organization. So he's definitely going to want to optimize that bonus pool when they already have a decent bonus. They can get an even higher pick, maybe a first rounder. I think this guy could win NL Rookie of the Year. And on top of that, could be in, a position to then compete or finish as a finalist in awards in the coming seasons, which could also net them a pick. So, I think Weatherholt, no doubt, is going to be their opening day third baseman. There could be something where like they traded Donovan eventually and they figure out a deal there and, he moves to second base, fine. But right now with the options that they have, I think Weatherholt is like going to be their guy. He's going to be the face of this rebuild. And they can get him up now. And I mean, he was good in Memphis for half the season. I mean, he was in Memphis before the All-Star game because he was already in AAA when I talked to him at the Futures game. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a dude and he does everything really well. And frankly, I don't know if this is smoke or not, but the Cardinals have told me they had him number 1 in that draft. So like they really believed in the player and were like psyched that he fell to them where he did.
Where do you think he hits in the lineup?
3. I mean, you kind of look at the Cardinals lineup right now, and I'm like, this is the best player in the organization. Even when Arenado was here, I thought he was the best player in the organization.
Yeah, for sure. So stat line. What do you give him? Homer steals 15-15 for rookie season.
Yeah, I think maybe the steals could be a little bit higher just based on like if he plays a full season. He stole 23 last year in 109 games. It's easier to steal bases than it's ever been. Here, I'll go 278 average with 360 OBP and 16 home runs, 22 steals. That's my prediction. Very, very inexact science, but just kind of looking at the type of hitter that he is, he uses the whole field. He hits the ball hard enough. He makes so much, like it's hard. It's hard to get him to swing and miss. His first taste of AAA, he had a 9.9 swing and strike rate. Rarely goes outside the zone. Attacks in zone. The in zone swing rate is fine. So I think this is one of the better hitters in the minors. If it wasn't for Kevin McGonigal, I think people would make the case that Weatherholt's the best hitter in the minors right now. And that's and McGonigal is like outlier in every sort of, box he could possibly check.
All right. I got you on the show right here. They're not on my third base rankings, but you mentioned that you might take McGonigal and Connor Griffin even ahead of Sal Stewart for redraft.
Yeah.
Are you that confident that they're going to get that much playing time? Because I'm more confident McGonigal will, but I'm scared that Connor Griffin is not going to be up until like September because of the Pirates.
They could throw an extension at him. It's just a matter of whether like Nutting wants to make that happen or not. I don't know how long they can keep him down. I think this is the best player that I've ever evaluated. Like in 15 years of doing this. I think he is phenomenal. And I don't know if I've ever evaluated anybody who's 60 at shortstop and a 70 in center field that has 70 raw power. It's an 80 runner that has the hit tool too. Like there's just, those guys don't ever come around. They would be crazy not to, especially the way that they're kind of building up this team. He might be their best player like day one. So, it's definitely been discussed. Like that front office is aware of it. And, I don't know if they've thrown an offer at him or not yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets an extension right off the bat that maybe buys out a year or two of free agency and gets him up to the big leagues. And, he's getting paid whatever, 12, 13, 14 million dollars a year or something like that. So I think it could happen. I mean, it's XL Sports, so it's not Boris, but it is a bigger agency. And, I don't know how receptive they would be to that. It's not like he's with some mom and pop type agency. That's more often than not when those extensions get done, they're with smaller agents. So I don't know. I don't know if it gets done or not. I don't know if they can keep him down that long. The other part of it too is like you have a slam dunk right now in terms of a PPI opportunity. And he is a guy that's immediately going to be your best defensive shortstop, your best defensive outfielder, probably your best hitter, and your best power hitter right away. Maybe you could make a case for Brandon Lau as power hitter, just because obviously he's hit 30 home runs a bunch of times in the big leagues already. But yeah, I don't know. And McGonigal, I don't know what the hell the Tigers are doing right now because they seem to have the potential for a super team in the next couple of years if they could get an extension done with Scuba, which it doesn't seem like they will. But are they going to cash it in this year? I can't imagine that's going to be the case. So I would think McGonigal's up. I even think there's a chance that Clark starts the season with the Tigers. And in these top prospects, those tend to be the guys that teams get up to the big leagues earlier. And none of those guys are in like a Red Sox situation where there's just too many mouths to feed at a position, and they gotta actually get rid of some guys in order to call up Roman Anthony. Yeah. Even that was a mistake. Like if they had Anthony day one, they might have made more noise. And potentially gotten a draft pick this year, right? So you
Yeah,
might have
it's
heard
like, do the organizations learn those lessons, or does it all just come down to the money? You know what I mean? It's like that's the whole equation. Is it they've got to balance those things. But
well, he's
so
cheaper. He's probably cheaper. I mean, he's going to be on a minor league minimum if they just didn't get an extension, just called him up out of camp. Like he's going to be making as little money as he possibly could be making his first couple of years while he's still under team control. So, he's not like Griffin wouldn't be ARB eligible for a few years. So that might be what's attractive to him is it's like, hey, you're going to make more than whatever 775,000 for a season. Like we'll give you 10 million, and it's like, all right, like then the math starts to make sense. So yeah, I just don't know what they're going to do, but I would be shocked if he's not up with the team by like May 1st.
wow.
I think he was the best player last year. Like in spring training, the first time I saw him, it was like, holy shit.
I just don't trust him after Bubba Chandler. It's like, how can you have to be skeptical. So I'm like, okay, over under on 450. You're gonna go over on 450 at bats on the over under.
Bubba Chandler had some things he had to work out though. Like he still doesn't have a great breaking ball, and I don't know. I mean, it's also pitching, and they had other guys that they felt they could burn years on. Fine. The Skeens thing was stupid, right? They obviously should have had him up out of camp. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would take the over on like whatever 400 plate appearances, whatever it is you said. Like I do think he's going to be up with the team.
Interesting.
Pretty
That's
early.
fun. That's fun. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Go follow Geoff at Geoff Pontes, BA at Baseball America, of course. Follow me at Fantasy Aceball. And Geoff, you guys just had your top 100 update come out. So talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, top 100 just dropped, so a ton of content that's around that. I do like the best pitches in the top 100. We have all the 90th percentile EVs for everybody in the top 100, with the exception of JoJo Parker and I think Billy Carlson because they haven't debuted yet. Fastball velocity for everybody in the top 100. I break down, 10 different fastballs with all the movement. Same with like 10 different breaking balls, 10 different changeups. Dylan has his stuff plus and hit plus for all the guys in the top 100, guys that could be on the top 100 next year. We probably have like 15 articles on top of that, plus all the team top 30s, which will then get updated again next week with all the IFA signings that will go into the top 30s, as well as any trades that haven't been reflected from the last 2 weeks since we last updated. So ton of stuff going on there. And then obviously we have our full suite of fantasy content. And Dylan released his first redraft rankings for the first time a couple weeks ago. And, Dylan won the main event. He knows what he's doing there. So go check those out.
Yeah, so make sure you sign up at Baseball America, subscribe to MLB Data Warehouse, and also make sure you buy my prospect package, only $29.99. You get all my draft cheat sheets, heat mapped, F scores, all that stuff for less than a lunch. So check that out. We'll see you next time. Peace out.